And I'm glad you brought that because that's kind of what I was going to segue when you had mentioned something on Margaret, with parts of family, things you might not know. Because I think, that's probably a common theme with most black families, with just the history of things. Again, our name is Holtz, which, my teenage years I learned was German, and I'm like, but I'm not German. How would I have this, this German last name? And then even we have different shades. And then I would ask, I remember, when we were younger, being so fair-skinned, kids would ask, was I Puerto Rican? Or was I mixed? And I'd kind of be confused because in my head, I'm like, no, I'm black. My family's black. I've never met any white family members. I don't know why you would think I'm mixed, but the skin tone, and then the history of things, the last name being Holtz. So for people that have history and a perspective of history, it just doesn't seem to add up unless you dig deeper, which is what you mentioned, and I thought the same things at some point, that at some point Germans that were here fighting wars must have stayed and remained, and it started to become part of the the culture, and then that was part of the era, which is people had slaves. And back to the South, a lot of it gets kind of pinned on the South and the Confederate flag, that was the bad side. But at the same time, your family being from Holmes, PA, were probably, well, first of all, most people came from Virginia anyway, all right, because that was a major slave port. And then I think Mississippi might have been one of the other big ones. Right, so either way, most families really that are black families came through Virginia and then moved. And then you also back to the, coming from the South to the North, which is what brought your dad kind of to Chester, is another moving, which was the Great Migration, where black families... And we
migrated based on train routes.
Exactly.
Right.
Train routes.
Oh.
If you're from the Carolinas, and there was I'm trying to remember, the train that starts in Florida and goes straight up. But that was a train for folk like us. And you ended up in the city where your money ran out. You had enough money to get... New York was the promised land. So if you had enough money, you got to New York. My running joke, and we live in Newark, New Jersey right now, I always say the black folk that didn't have that extra 50 cents ended up in Newark.
Edit.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's an extra 50 cents.
But,
so, go ahead, I'm sorry.